Sleeves with the Senior Pickleball Report powered by TNC Network. Let's get it going. Today in our People of Pickleball episode, we are speaking with Ryan Van Winkle. He is the CEO and one of the creators behind the app Bounce. In racket sports, this is the app. It pairs together basically instructors, trainers, coaches, and prospective players who want to learn from the best in the game. But before we get to that, if you like this content, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out all the links in the description for discounts. Check out our newsletter as well and our merch page. All right, let's get to that conversation with Ryan.
Okay, we are here with Ryan Van Winkle, the co-founder and the CEO of Bounce, an incredible platform for racket sports, which we will get into. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Mike, thanks for having me. I've seen the show quite a few times on YouTube, so it's really fun to be on the other side this time.
Yeah, it's good to have you. And we were going to get into Bounce in a little bit because it's one of the coolest things I've seen in pickleball, and I think folks are going to be aware of it very soon. And so I feel privileged to know a little bit about it before it really explodes on the people. So, but obviously before that, need to know a little bit about your background in racket sports, and obviously the big question, and how you found pickleball and so on. So why don't you start us at sort of the beginning there?
Sure, happy to. That's actually a really fun question I like to ask everyone else that gets into pickleball. You see some similarities in journeys, but there are some interesting outliers as well. I am afraid mine's probably more of the traditional boring story. So I played mostly tennis first, and then I had the opportunity to live in Europe for several years, starting in 2017. And that was about the time that the paddle or padel boom really took off. So I got to see a lot of that happening. I spent most of my time in Italy, where it's really, really big. The same in Spain. Now it's all over Europe, and started playing padel. I love that as well. Very kind of different dynamic compared to tennis, but I loved it. I think I just love racket sports. And then shortly after, I was in the US visiting and had some friends playing pickleball, and hadn't played before. Actually, I'd heard about it, hadn't even seen it. And I got on the court. I thought it would be quite easy to pick up since I'd played a lot of tennis and padel. And it was really easy to get started. But then the mistakes you make coming, especially from tennis on the pickleball court, are just like horrible and really, really hard to break those habits. But anyway, fell in love with pickleball as well. But one of the recurring themes that I'd had for, probably since I was a teenager was it's kind of difficult to try to improve at these sports rapidly when you're relying on things like pen and paper or texting your coach or YouTube videos. So I'd complained for years and years and years about how to make that experience better for both the coach as well as the player. And then I just got lucky to team up with a childhood friend of mine a couple of years ago. And we said, maybe we should just try to take this on ourselves. We think racket sports are growing. We both love racket sports. Maybe there's an opportunity to help grow them and make them more accessible. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a big leap from, hey, I like pickleball and I like racket sports to I'm going to develop this app that doesn't exist really at any level. I had a little bit of a teaser with you, obviously, in a prior call, so I know what's coming a little bit, but I think, as if with everybody I interview on this show, I interview them because they've not only started playing the game, but they've done something and gone beyond the game, and that's why they're on the show, because they're sharing that, that part of that journey. So, so you filled us in a little bit about it. So, talk a little bit about Bounce, what it does, maybe show us a little bit, and we can talk about that after too.
Sure, that would be great. So I'll start high level, and then we can kind of come in, and I could show you some of the as well, as you said. So the first thing, or actually I'll take a step back from there. I had the opportunity to do a lot of coaching myself, and I loved it. But this is mostly for tennis, and I'm not quite good enough at the other ones to try to coach. And I loved the coaching element, the education element, the mentorship element, if you will. But as a coach, and any coach will know this historically, it's really difficult on the business side. So you're usually trying to manage multiple group messages. You might even use multiple communication apps as it is. You might use iMessage and WhatsApp and email. Payments can be tricky as well. Are you using the club's payment system, or using cash or Venmo or Zelle? In the United States in particular, we're very fortunate because we have so much public infrastructure. There's so many parks and
Mm,
YMCA's and things like that. So you'll find coaches like myself who are using multiple courts, and then it becomes difficult to do scheduling. So there are all these things that make the administrative burden heavier for racket sports coaches than coaches even in other sports. So the first thing we did is just try to streamline all of that for the coach. So now on Bounce, if you are a coach, you have one place where you can do all of your scheduling, collecting your payments, and communicating with players. And that can be both scheduling as far as I'm going to set my schedule at a few different locations and just allow players to come onto Bounce and book it like Airbnb style.
right.
But it can also be proactive. So if I know I have, let's say, a group of 10 players that are 3.0 to 3.5, and every week I do a clinic with 6 of them, but which 6 are available changes, you
Right.
just go in and create that clinic and Bounce to be recurring on Monday evenings. And then you can just share that clinic or group lesson link into the chat. And the first 6 people to click it are the ones that are in, and it'll give you a wait list.
Right.
So tried to make some of the administration easier, and obviously give coaches a way to grow their business as well, as they have their own dedicated page on the Bounce platform. And then for players, what it means is finding great coaches is a little bit easier. So really trying to help with the accessibility, whether it's you trying to go from 5.0 to 5.5, make a big jump, or you're looking to get your kids into the sport and you want to find those that specialize in youth. And then probably my favorite part is we also have ways where the players and the coach can share data. So let's say that you and I do a lesson together, Mike, you're the coach. After after the lesson, you'll have the opportunity to reflect on the lesson to say where you thought Ryan was doing well, where he can probably
Right.
spend time to improve, where you spent the most time on the court, like which shots or skills did you address. And I'll get a similar experience that asks me where I'm feeling most and least confident. And then I can rate Mike's performance overall, out of 5 stars or things
Sure.
to improve. And then just with that very quick experience, we can surface a lot of useful information for the player and the coach to leverage for future lessons. So that
Right.
the development journey is a little bit more tailored. And then as a player, it's my favorite part. You almost have a diary, because right now I look at my journey in all of these sports, and I've taken over the years hundreds of lessons with probably dozens of coaches. And it's a shame that when I'm having trouble with my backhand drops or in tennis,
Right.
my second serve, I say, I think I've had this problem before. When did I address it, and what was kind of the root cause? And it's like the only way you can look at that now is if you're one of those people who's keeping like journals of your lessons.
Yeah.
But now you could just go into Balance and say, I want to filter all the feedback I've gotten from my coaches on my backhand drops, and it'll just surface that up for you. So you can say, that's what it is. I'm not, I'm closing my stance instead of staying open, which
Sure.
is something I do as a tennis player. So trying to make it more fun and more accessible altogether.
Yeah, I think that's the part that you mentioned last, is that's highly overlooked in our development as players, is really keeping track of what we've done and what we figured out, or what people
Yeah.
have figured out for us, and going back and going, oh yeah, I mean, I always think back, I played baseball as a kid, and you go into these hitting slumps and you're like, oh, what was this? But you don't have anything to look back like a log and go, oh, my elbow's dropping when I'm, whatever I'm doing here. And I tend to start doing those things, but it's not necessarily something I can do consistently. But if there's a platform and I'm working with a
Right.
coach,
Right.
and there's both kind of parties doing things, I think it helps helps the accountability a little bit.
Definitely. Did you ever do that yourself, Mike, when you were learning, particularly in pickleball? Did you ever like take notes or watch YouTube or
Oh yeah,
anything? Oh, you did. Okay.
yeah. I do a lot of that. I the one good ability that I have is I really can figure out sort of what I've done wrong in a shot technically pretty quick. I can sort of feel it and reflect on that. But over time, there's so many maneuvers in this game, and so many little things with footwork and technique and where to place the ball, that some of those things are just going to fall through, and you're not going to be able to recall them all. So to go back, and I do, but I'm not consistent, and that's why I'm really attracted to what Bounce does. Is it's there. I don't have to go paging through some note I took somewhere at
Right.
some random point on a court. So
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm totally with you. Now the next step is I need to take all that feedback and actually change my game, which is
Right.
the next thing I have
Yeah.
to do.
Well, join the
Might
club, bud.
take a little bit longer. Yeah, might for all of us,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a better start.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, obviously, it's one thing to have this idea for this platform. It's another thing to have the technical skill
Hmm.
to implement it. So talk a little bit about you and your co-founder having like, what is your background? Like, how did you be, what did to pull this off is no easy task. I have a ton of ideas. It doesn't mean I can do them.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. That's very nice. Well, we were fortunate that we have complementary skills. Before Bounce, I spent most of my time first in consulting, and within consulting, I got to do a lot of work with product and user experience designers and service
Mm-hmm.
designers, really trying to figure out what people actually want rather than how do you build a business around it. So in other words, what is desirable? How do we
Right.
really address a need or something that's a day-to-day challenge for the user before thinking about all the business implications? So
Yeah.
I got, let's say, really good education in that sense that I got to see the commercial side of things, but then I got to
Okay.
spend most of my time doing design. And my co-founder, amongst other things, is a really brilliant software engineer. So he spent quite a bit of time in Silicon Valley working at some cool companies like Postmates and Uber. So he figured out how to bring the technical chops into bringing the design to life. And now we have a wonderful team. We were able to attract a handful of people across product and marketing and design to help us put meat
Yeah.
on the bones, so to speak. And now it's just a fantastic team effort.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nose. It would take a team. I mean, people have these ideas all the time. I think I talk to friends and stuff like, yeah, what about I'll create an app for blank. But you think about the entire like it's a company at that
Right.
point, and it takes a lot of things, not just obviously the design and implementation that both of you have done, but the part which most people have trouble with, including me with my own channel and some of the ventures I'm in, is the marketing and getting
Totally.
it out there to folks and getting it in the hands of people. And I think being on the cutting edge of some of the things you're doing and seeing AI come along with some of those things, helping to build, your own funnels, so to speak, your marketing funnels and your sort of like sponsorship, how to pursue that and reaching out to people. So where are you kind of in the development of getting this out to the masses?
Sure. No, it's funny you mentioned that. I would say historically that's actually been a weaker area for us as a team. I mean, we have tried to spend a lot of time building the right product, but we haven't done a great job of getting it out there. We've just been fortunate to have a lot of great relationships with coaching associations and particularly pickleball clubs. It's such a good community. People want to share, just like you gave me the opportunity
Right.
to do today. So we have been able to build great relationships, which has helped us build the product, but not necessarily market it to the hundreds of thousands of players who want to improve their game or the tens of thousands of coaches who might need help in supporting those players. So now what we're really looking to do is do a little bit more formal marketing, right? Doing great things like this. We're a little bit more active on social media than we otherwise would, but we're still putting a lot of energy into supporting the coaching associations, which we think are most important. Who are those coaches who have taken the time and spent the money to go through certification or some kind of upskilling program?
Right.
And how can we work with those set of associations to give their coaches better tools to be able to grow their game? And then on the player side, it's really about just making noise and helping them understand that they can get coaching, whether on court or something I skipped over before, or remote coaching, which any player can get no matter where they're sitting. So just trying to
Right.
make them more aware of that.
Right. So, I mean, big picture here. Obviously, this game has gone to places I don't think anybody really could predict or foresee. I mean, obviously, it's been around since the mid 1960s. So, it's been in gymnasiums and PE classes and YMCA's for decades. And then, a few things happen. The perfect storm, boom, COVID hits. This
Right.
game is everywhere. And people are developing amazing tools like yourself, and you know, all of a sudden I'm sitting in front of a screen and I'm an influencer. I had no idea this game existed 4 years ago. So with Bounce, where do you sort of see things going? Because I mean, it seems to me we're still in the wild, wild west version of let's see what happens in pickleball, not only from obviously the game itself, but from a business point too. Everybody's sort of figuring out their place and their niche in it. So where do you see bounce going, and where do encompass with this game as well, and where's the game going?
Yeah, I totally agree that it's been a crazy boom, and it's a little bit hard to predict where it's going to go. I think one of the areas that we're super focused on, I guess we're essentially betting the business on it, is we think that accessibility to the sport and proper education is always going to be important. It's one of the reasons we're focused on coaching. We think that that interaction between the coach and the player and that dynamic is really, really important, especially for getting new people, new players, I should say, into the game. So we really want to address that. And ideally, we want to be the hub for everything teaching or learning in pickleball. We want to be the resource to come to learn how to improve, to find the best coaches, to read the best content from those coaches, to watch the best content from those coaches. And then if you are a coach, we want to be the platform that you can trust to be able to manage and grow your business and build the best relationships with players, regardless where you live or how much experience you have, what your lesson costs. We should be the go-to place to help. And we do think that that'll be a pretty significant market, both in the US and internationally. I mean, I think as you alluded to earlier, we're already seeing pickleball being played avidly in dozens of countries. We have a few coaches in Africa already, which is incredible. And Zimbabwe and South Africa. I just wouldn't have guessed. Obviously, it's going to take off in Europe and in Southeast Asia coming as well. So just banking on the sport continuing to grow and betting ourselves on that, what's always going to be important is enabling the coaches and giving the players more access to them.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about a little bit about the coaches and what has been some of the feedback you've received from some the coaches that have gotten in early on Bounce?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let me try to think maybe about if we took any wrong turns. When we first started, our base logic was to make it function a lot more similar to like the standard Airbnb experience. I want to go on to Bounce. I want to find a coach, see their availability, and book a lesson. But we found that most coaches like to have a little bit more flexibility in their scheduling. So there are some parts of the week where they're okay if anyone books them. But typically what they like to do is, as I mentioned earlier, just find the date and time that works for them, kind of ad hoc, click a button to create a lesson, and then share that lesson out to the players they want to join. Or what we're working on now here finally in the end of October is you'll just be able to do that in Bounce. So what you'd be able to do, Mike, is say, I'm creating a one-to-one lesson, what time, 11 a.m. with who, you'll type in RY, and Ryan Van Winkle will come in as long as I've been in your Rolodex. You'll just click Ryan and it will send me a notification. It will say, Mike's added you to this lesson. Do you accept? And I accept, and we're done. So we've given the coach a lot more flexibility in terms of scheduling proactively. That's been great. We also got a lot of feedback from coaches and players as well that they wanted to be able to do asynchronous coaching. So we have this feature where I can record a video of myself playing. It can be 30 seconds or 3 minutes or even an entire match. And I can submit that video to the coach, who can then annotate it with their own audio messages, video messages. They can draw on it, whatever they'd like to do. They can bring in their own corrective pictures from their folders or from Google, and then send it back to the player. And the player will have all that information there as well. And again, they'll be able to recall some of that data based on whether the feedback was positive or neutral or critical. And that's been really, really fun because it's not something we anticipated at the beginning. Despite obviously being technologists ourselves, that's probably a more obvious like accessibility thing you could do is just start off with some remote stuff, but we didn't know. But the coaches told us, and the players did as well. So we implemented that, and that's been like really fun to see that growth and watch people from, the middle of Argentina book a lesson with someone in Los Angeles, right? Pickleball's not So now they get access to people who have been coaching pickleball for 5 years, and that's just been wonderful.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool. it's mind blowing if you think about what's happened in the last whatever since I guess the internet. Like you just mentioned, somebody in Argentina getting a lesson from somebody in LA, getting feedback. You and I talking here,
Right.
and that's where I see like I feel like we're on the cusp. Obviously, AI is hitting and all these things, and where's it going to go in the next few years? So before we get you out of here, talk a little bit about like what because we're ending 2024 here. What was something you could highlight that was pretty big for you guys in 2024, and then 2025? Like, what's one of the things you're sort of looking forward to for Bounce?
Sure. Let's see. I'll start with the second question, just because I'm like,
Yeah.
we're excited about, especially because you were mentioning how much better the technology is getting. Obviously, for things like remote coaching, or even if you do an in-person lesson and you get that lesson recorded, something that's very important for us is the actual footage that you're getting. And what we're working on now is closing some partnerships with a few of the companies that are out leading the way in the camera technology. And
Mm-hmm.
they are working internally on implementing AI into the video so that what you could do is go to a club that's outfitted with one of these cameras and play a match or play a best of three. And let's say that's over an hour. That video would then hit your, let's say, camera company A. I don't want to mention the name just yet, but it'll hit your account there.
Sure.
And it'll also hit your Bounce account. And then what you can do is you can tell it, thanks to the great work these companies are doing, I want you to just show me the unforced errors. And it'll condense it down to minutes. Just show me the winners. Just show me my backhand drops. And then you could click a button and submit those unforced errors or the winners, whatever, to a coach or to a friend. So that I'm really, really excited about that, especially because we get to partner with
It's incredible.
companies that are doing really cool stuff. Um, Something this year maybe is we've had a lot of fun figuring out how one player, so myself, can take the learnings I got from a remote lesson and kind of share it with my community. So what you can do now is after you get, we'll take a remote lesson, for example, where it's live. After I've received all the feedback from a coach, I can just ask the coach, are you okay if this link becomes visible? And you can say,
Right.
yeah, that's fine. And I can just share the link with anyone in the world and they can come in and watch that remote lesson. So I can share one with you later, Mike. I have a lesson that Lee Whitwell gave me, that you know very
Oh,
well.
there we go. Now we're talking.
And her giving me some very frank feedback about the things that I'm not doing that well and the few things that I'm doing well. But it's cool because I can take some of the things that she told me that I know that some of the people in my community struggle with, especially other tennis players, and say, you should just watch my lesson live. It'll take you 6 or 7 minutes and you're getting feedback, or you're going to see feedback from one of the best players and coaches in the world. And it's made the learning journey a bit more social, which has been like a really fun thing to see for players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really great. Just to be able to share that with people. And yeah, not everybody has to go through the lesson necessarily, because
Right.
a lot of things, obviously, we all can relate to, and we all struggle with, whether it's a resetting or where to place our drops and so on and so forth. So, really cool stuff, Ryan. Obviously, where this is going is sort of staggering, because I feel like, yeah, like I've mentioned several times, this comes along, and then now, like you mentioned, some of the AI stuff that's coming with it, and where's it going to be? And I think obviously Bounce has got, it seems like sky's the limit. So really exciting stuff. Glad to have you on. Obviously, and anybody wants to check out Bounce, links in the description, and have a way to get a hold of Ryan as well. Ryan Van Winkle, CEO, co-founder of Bounce, racket platform for coaches and players. And wow, I mean, it's honestly, it's the coolest thing I've heard about in pickleball as far as technology goes. So well done.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. And thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
Absolutely.
Hope you enjoyed our conversation with Ryan. Check out Bounce. Man, really, really, really cool app, which I hope to be part of very soon. All right, folks, you know what to do at the end of the day. Hey, let's pickle.